This is what all of us should be doing, right? Reducing the distance between knowledge and people, and it's been our life's journey in many ways. In fact, that's how I recruit people from big tech. I'm like, hey, there's wars, pandemics, climate change, and economic distress, and yet you're shoving more ads in my face, more videos in teenagers' eyes, and you're trying to turn my head into Barney the Purple Dinosaur. Let's work on something a little bit more serious, please. And so I started my career as a research engineer at IBM Microelectronics early on in Charlotte, North Carolina. And about halfway through that career, I started sending all sorts of script notes and ideas to the AI team that was burgeoning and all over the world. And they sent back a terse response that said, if we let you lead this group, will you stop sending us effing emails? And so that's how I took over and then noticed that we were building a lot of the early telematics systems and things of that sort for clients like Honda and things of that sort. But what was frustrating me was the fact that it was going to be taking 7 years before you acquired one of our assets. So we were developing something called embedded via voice, and it would be about many years before you would acquire this asset. And so then we started experimenting. We're like, okay, how do we get this in other platforms that you're going to be encountering? So we hid it in places like Miami Children's Hospital. So before you could do timers on your iPhones or in your homes, we hid it in the OR for surgeons to start and stop these things. We hid them in universities. So you can tell where is the shuttle bus, is the washer dryer free or not, because of course co-eds are too lazy to walk down the hallway and check for themselves. And we also hid it in Epcot Center in Disney World for two reasons. One, I wanted to see how children would react to these early AI assistants, and I also wanted to see how drunks would slur their speech as well. And then I was quoted in this Popular Mechanics thing, and they're like, Igor, what's one thing that you can do that the rest of us can't do yet? And I'm like, well, I can talk to my television set. But then what was frustrating is they put the cover, American 2025. This thing was from May 2005, and I threw the magazine across the room. And I'm like, I don't want to wait 20 years for this. I already have it in the lab. I'm not going to be Professor X in a wheelchair 20 years from now talking to my television. And so I'm like, how do I get this out there faster? And so we were working on a secret project with Sony and Toshiba on cell architecture. And I'm like, put a microphone on it. They were laughing their heads off. They're like, nobody's going to put a microphone in their house. And then by year 2, I'm like, let's record their voice here and send it up to the cloud. And they're like, nobody's going to send their voice somewhere where they can't see. And then by year 3, I said, hey, let's go ahead and record it here, send it up there, and we'll answer any question any human being has in less than a second. By then, they were falling out of their chairs with milk shooting out of their nose. That was the PlayStation 3. And so water finds a way around a rock. So like Cartman's South Park's Cartman, I said, screw you guys, I'm going home. And I stood up the last company. A year into it, if you've ever seen HBO's comedy Silicon Valley, they lampooned a conference called TechCrunch Disrupt, and I walked on stage. This is the clean-shaven version of me. And I pulled a Razr flip phone out of my pocket, and I spoke into it, and crickets. Nobody knew what the heck I was showing them. What they didn't know at the time, and I wasn't able to say, was that this was Siri. This was a baby version of Siri. We were secretly working with Apple before the iPhone even existed. That's how early on they were thinking about these natural experiences to create more accessible interfaces to democratize access to information. 5 years later, we get acquired on the down low, and that's how Alexa is born. So Alexa is my older sister's name, and the code name for it was Prion. So it was ahead of its time, the first ever AI cloud company. It's my fault that some of you that live in Massachusetts had to start paying sales tax for your Amazon orders. So we decided to catch our own football. We knew that this style of natural language experience would come to more serious pursuits. And so we started on that journey because we know that there's a big problem that organizations face, which is knowledge friction. Right? Things are strewn about these organizations all over their environments, their contracts, financial instruments, emergency procedures, policies, resumes for rapid response team, analyst reports, things that they're licensing from others. People tried to solve this in different ways. Through web search, through enterprise search, chatbots that are fragile at scale, and through fragmented AI startups. By the way, we're all technically using the same 5 buzzwords, and you need to yell out bingo and get free teddy bears out of every AI entrepreneur you encounter, because you can't tell them apart. But the big vision that many of the old guard got attracted to AI is the fact that we're on the cusp of the true Tower of Babel. The true Tower of Babel. And what does that mean? We are going to be able to construct platforms that build knowledge clouds inside of those organizations that are going to be agnostic to the human language that things are authored, recorded, or captured in. That won't matter the underlying system of record that things are stored in, whether it's structured, semi-structured, or unstructured repositories. It's not going to matter what the underlying object type are, audio, video, images, text. So we're actually on the cusp of being able to create the equivalent of every institution's Library of Congress. And that becomes their source of truth. Why? Here's why. The internet, as you know it, died 2 years ago. It used to be where you typed in keywords and you would see innovation, inspiration, creativity of our fellow human beings. Now it's generative vomit that's going to turn it into a hall of mirrors. And the reason why this construct is critical, for the same reason that Norwegians hide non-GMO seeds in a seed bank above the Arctic Circle, every organization is going to need their own version of it to safeguard truth so that they can make the proper decisions. And so, yes, at times this is what it feels like, right? That we're giving people access to technologies. In some ways, we all imagine that we're making hammers for Jimmy Carter to build Habitat for Humanity. But unfortunately, some people access these tools and turn into Ted Bundys. And that's what we have to mitigate and always have a sense of responsibility with the charge that we're given. Thank you.